Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're getting back to the Snake Oil Salesman series. But first of all, brief disclaimer. All our source material that we will be using throughout the duration of the Snake Oil Salesman series can be found linked right there in the description box. So should you like to do a little studying on your own, you're definitely going to be able to go ahead and do so. Trigger warning, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. I do use profanity, and some of the topics we cover on this channel can be particularly triggering. So if you do have a child that is 16 and younger and they watch this channel, parental supervision is advised, alright? Okay, so we are moving on to sports health. We're going to be going over a 2017 article called Prohibited Contaminants in Dietary Supplements. I think this is very pertinent to cover throughout the Snake Oil Salesman series because throughout history, these false medicines have an MO, if you will, where you don't exactly know everything that is contained, whether it be the old tonics of yore, or whether it is your friendly, cleverly packaged supplements of today. And that lack of regulation can be somewhat terrifying and can lead to false positives during drug tests for athletes. So we're going to be going over that, and it will probably cover the next few videos of this series. So let's go ahead and get started here. The context. With increasing use of unregulatory dietary supplements, and we're not just talking capsules, folks, powders as well, athletes are at continued risk from adverse medical events and inadvertent doping. Evidence acquisition. A review of clinical key Medline and PubMed databases from 2012 to 2017 was performed using terms such as dietary supplement, contamination, doping in athletes, inadvertent doping, and prohibited substances. So you may be taking something that's prohibited without even knowing it. So, not trying to actually get a leg up on the competition, you may be taking something you don't even realize is there. The references of pertinent articles were reviewed for other relevant sources. So, they give you a bit of the study design. They did a clinical review, level of evidence, level 3, results, poor manufacturing processes. And intentional contamination with many banned substances continue to occur in dietary supplements sold in the United States. Certain sectors, such as weight loss and muscle building supplements, those in the area in particular are the most notorious for what we're talking about here, pose a greater threat because they are more likely to be contaminated. Conclusion. Athletes will continue to be at risk for adverse events and failed doping tests due to contaminated dietary supplements until legislation changes how they are regulated. In the interim, there are several steps that can be taken to mitigate this risk, including improved education of medical staff and athletes, and use of third-party certified products. And this is why you also have people like me to pop up. So, by all accounts, swimmer Jessica Hardy did everything she was supposed to leading up to her competing in the 2008 Beijing Olympics. She was projected to be a gold medal contender in her events. In an effort to gain strength and muscle mass, she took a dietary supplement called Advocare Arginine Extreme. First, she had researched the product, consulted with a nutritionist and team psychologist, and contacted the company about its safety and purity. So, in other words, she did everything right. This is not like one of us seeing a supplement that might help us with a problem area going off to the vitamin shop that is way overpriced and gives you a placebo effect at best. We're talking about somebody who did her homework like she was supposed to. Before the game, Miss Hardy failed a drug test because her sample contained clonopatral, a beta agonist with anabolic properties that is on the United States Anti-Doping Agency, USADA World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA prohibited lists. So, despite her conscientiousness, she was banned from the Olympic Games and served a 1-year suspension. So think about that. She had no idea that clenbuterol was in that supplement. And she just lost the ability to compete in the Olympic Games. Do you know how almost impossible it is to get to that level and then have it taken away simply because you took a supplement even after having done due diligence? If that doesn't put warning bells up and the fact that we need to be cautious here, I don't know what really does. Because, God, I can't even imagine the level of heartbreak that would be. This suspension was a reduced penalty because of the Court of Arbitration for Sport found that she had exercised sufficient diligence in her investigation of the supplement. I would like to know why the company that made the supplement was not sued into the Stone Age. Maybe they have been. We'll look it up someday. Annually, the USADA and WADA publish a list of prohibited substances and methods in an effort to keep sports clean and protect athletes. I believe that kind of really got kicked off back in the day with the St. Louis Cardinals. And I only remember the last name McGuire because I'm not really a baseball aficionado, but I do remember how they got mad and kept saying that he had doped up. The National Collegiate Athletic Association, NCAA, and the most professional leagues have similar categories of bad substances, including illicit or street drugs. A substance is prohibited if it meets 2 of 3 criteria. It has potential to enhance or enhances sport performance. It represents an actual or potential health risk to the athlete, or it violates the spirit of sports. The WADA Code also states that athletes have a personal duty to ensure that no prohibited substance enters their body and that they are responsible for any prohibited substance or its metabolite or markers found to be present in their samples. So, hence why Jessica Hardy did her homework, but sometimes we live in this world nowadays that's just not good enough. And it's costing. God, the cost. The biggest cost of inadvertent doping is the careless and misinformed use of supplements. Although it is difficult to quantify the extent of the problem, it is estimated that 6.4% to 8.8% of doping cases are caused by tainted dietary supplements. And usually where we get these things, we get them from places we trust, right? We see them at Walmart, we see them at the vitamin shop, we see them at the pharmacy. We don't ever think that, we might take a drug test and fail because of what might actually be inside those capsules that we don't know about. Right? We got a table here. Non-approved substances, anabolics, peptide hormones, growth factors, related substances, and metrics, beta-2 agonists, hormone and metabolic modulators, diuretics and masking agents, stimulants, narcotics, cannabinoids. Oh my God, I probably butchered that. I'm not even going to pronounce that word, we're just going to read it there. Manipulation of blood and blood components, chemical and physical manipulation, gene doping, alcohol and beta blockers. All of these are on the prohibited substance list here that can disqualify you for something like what Jessica Hardy went through. So here's we're going to go through a little bit of the background here. Athletes have been trying to fulfill the Olympic motto of faster, higher, stronger by adding food and other substances to their diet since 776 BC, when the Greeks used dried figs, mushrooms, and strychnine to improve athletic performance. A dietary supplement is defined as a product intended to augment the diet that bears or contains one or more of the following ingredients: a vitamin, a mineral, a herb or other botanical, an amino acid, a dietary substance for use by a human to supplement the diet by increasing the total dietary intake, or a concrete metabolite, constituent, extract, or combination of any ingredient described above. Now, as a person who takes tinctures, I am not going to be someone who is going to hold back that some of those tinctures do have small amounts of alcohol in them. Not very much, usually distilled within the inch of being absolutely ineffective, but I know that it's there, and me taking a pee test, it would probably show up. That's the sort of things that they're talking about here. Dietary supplements are used by as many as 53% of American adults based on data from a National Health and Nutrition Examination survey. This shows a substantial increase in usage from 1971 to 1974, the Haynes data in which the usage rate was 33%. As of 2015, dietary supplements are a $38.8 billion industry in the United States. Yet I don't see anyone, raging about big soy. And guess what? It's becoming a thing. There are more than 85,000 dietary supplements currently marketed in the United States. The most popular, in my opinion, at least out here, has been those protein powders and shakes by far. By far. I mean, and the costs, like I told you, I was like about $200 to $300 a month, almost half my rent, just in my monthly intake of those soy powders that turned out to actually be more holding me back than they were actually helping me out. In general, dietary supplement use is greater in athletes than in the general population, with elite athletes consuming more than non-elite athletes. And those of us who are, hopelessly addicted to exercise, like myself, we are also a large group, particularly those who get involved in races, like the Spartan races, for example. They really use those supplementos, those protein powders, very, very heavily. I mean, literally, my stepdad and my brother, while training for the Spartan, using those powders and starting to get into the use of creatine, was how I even began all of that to begin with. Let me go ahead and continue here. Several studies cite rates of dietary supplement use among elite athletes ranging from 69% to 94%. Multivitamins remain the most commonly taken in all studies, with 39% to 73% of athletes taking something other than multivitamins. A survey of 77 elite Australian swimmers revealed they took 207 different products, including an herbal preparation in 61%. Many athletes do not consider sports drinks and meal replacements to be dietary supplements. I didn't for the longest time, and it's only since I backed away from it and put more focus in regards to what I had put in my body for food, as opposed to trying to get a leg up with all these powders and everything. Not only have I saved money, the results have been insane. It's much easier for me nowadays to actually develop muscle, and that's always been something that's been extremely difficult for me for reasons I still don't understand, but I noticed a very marked difference. But we don't think about those powders as supplements, but they are. They actually are. Athletes take dietary supplements for many reasons, including to aid in recovery, maintain health, improve performance, prevent or treat illness, support for their immune system, manipulate body composition, and compensate for poor diet. Me, I was trying to use it when I was on it pretty heavily to help with endurance and in building muscle mass, but lean muscle mass. I didn't want to bulk up so much as I just am tired of being a walking stick. That kind of gets old. But yeah, they are supplements. This is despite the lack of evidence that all but a few substances are effective. In general, vitamin and mineral supplementation is unnecessary for athletes who consume a diet consisting of nutrient-dense foods. Dietary supplements can be considered if the athlete is on an energy-restricted diet or is unwilling or unable to consume sufficient dietary variety. Vegetarian and vegan athletes are at risk for deficiencies in energy, fat, protein, iron, zinc, vitamin B12, omega-3 fatty acids, creatine, and carnosine. So hence why those exist, but the majority of us use it who may not necessarily need that extra help with the creatine or the other vitamins if you already build your food like that. A long risk for inadvertent doping. Dietary supplement use is strongly associated with intentional doping in elite and amateur sports. Adolescents who use dietary supplements had significantly stronger doping intentions and more positive attitudes and favorable behaviors toward doping. Good God. You're an athlete. Put down the crack. Dietary supplement use can be seen as a gateway to doping, with doping being 3.5 higher in a dietary supplement user group than a non-user group. I was never tempted. Why? Some of those dopings involve needles. I have a pathological and irrational fear of them. Thank God for very small favors. But anyways, we're going to start there. We'll come back next week with the regulation of dietary supplements and the issues we've been running into there. But first off, we're going to go ahead and close out. I wish you all a very good Holy Saturday and a happy Easter. We've got some lamb coming in. We ordered from place called That Lebanese Place, so we're gonna have lamb kebabs. It's gonna be rice and pita and hummus, and it's gonna be awesome. I hope everybody else has a wonderful Easter as well. Let's go ahead and close out. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, as always, you do know the drill. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, don't forget to hit the comments. Make sure you are still set up for notifications, because we're coming back next Friday and next Saturday with new episodes of Down the Rabbit Hole and the Snake Oil Salesman series. We don't want you missing anything. I do appreciate your time, and as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea absolutely do. Hope you have a good one. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye now.